All right, come join Kyle, John, and David as they go through what's on the playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the queue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you hear all latest in television entertainment news with too many hosts who are pretty good. Oh, that's host David Allen. Another one is
John Berwick. The third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am Elmo's dad. John is Elmo, and Dave is Larry David.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm sorry to do this to you, Kyle. It's actually David. Only my close friends call me Dave.
Oh yes,
So,
of course.
Just want to make that clear up front here, David. But yeah, I am Larry David of this podcast, the old curmudgeon. Am I wrapping it up after 438 episodes like Larry is doing with 12 seasons? We'll see. Gotta wait to find out till the end of this. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about Curb. We're going to be talking about Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We got some quick checks on some Oscar movies. And yes, we will talk about what Kyle's alluding to. Elmo, Larry David, what is that Mad Lib? We got so much to get to tonight. And we got to jump right into it. John, what's the first segment?
in and out points.
All right, we're going to start off with a big news story that came out yesterday about this blockbuster agreement between three big companies. Disney, the Fox Corporation, and Warner Brothers Discovery are collaborating on a new streaming company for just sports content. It's going to combine live streams of channels like ESPN, ABC, Fox, TNT, and TBS, as well as games and sports rights from all these three companies. This will include major sports rights, including the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, NHL, college football, NCAA March Madness basketball, the FIFA World Cup, 3 of the 4 Grand Slam tennis events, UFC, Formula One, and NASCAR. A lot of stuff going on here. All these companies coming together, making this super sports app. Kyle, what do you think about this news?
It's interesting. When I was looking at the agreement, it's like the one that I think benefits the most would be Fox because they don't have their own kind of streaming service where they stream this stuff. With ESPN and Max, they have basketball and all their ventures going on. So you can already find those on those streaming platforms. So to me, it makes the most sense for Fox. I guess with the agreement, it's like if you only watch sports, you only care about sports. Now you have this entity you can use. So it might be good for just sports fans who don't really care about other things. But I would imagine that if you're a sports fan, you do like to watch other stuff. So it just makes sense to have the other streaming option, the streamers anyways. I don't know.
I do wonder because it's like, yeah, what does this mean for like linear cable? Because a lot of people like, I think cable is kind of like just sitting there because of sports. Like that's the only reason most people have it is I got to watch live sports, on whatever Sunday. I got to be able to watch it. Well, now you have this streaming app that can do a lot of it for you, and it's like, do you just like I got this? Okay, I'll get Peacock and Paramount Plus. I mean, maybe there's one or two I'm forgetting, you don't have, but like that covers the gamut. Like that's a huge part of what's out there. I don't know. Will people really cut the cord with this kind of bombshell app? It's not all going to be exclusive, like just on this one app. Like you can still watch it on linear, at least right now, or you can watch them on these like their own apps. The service will offer content on a non-exclusive basis, allowing each company to launch their own offerings. It'll still be available directly to consumers as a bundle, with Warner Brothers Discovery's Max, with Disney's Plus or Disney's ESPN Plus and Hulu, and which All right, so yeah, I guess you can pick and choose, you can bundle them up, you can do whatever you want, which is good for the consumer. We have choices. Who knows if we're gonna get, sidelined and being like, hey, yeah, if you want to watch a special one, the special what was it, the game, the wild card game, you're gonna have to
Yeah,
get this ESPN, Fox, Warner
basically
Max.
pay per
Yeah,
view. Yeah.
you're gonna get the
It
app for that.
yeah. Um yeah, I think it could be going down that route. I think pay-per-view is probably in the future. I think it's one of those things where sports is where a lot of the cable, that's what you were paying for when you had cable. So now that they're one thing, let's bring them in on a low price and then jack it up when streaming rights for NFL games and everything like that are astronomical.
Mhm.
So, I don't know.
So this means we're getting a non-sports package in all these respective apps that'd be cheaper, right?
Oh, I would love that. Sign me up.
Yeah.
That's why I'm paying
Yeah.
so much for YouTube TV, right? I
Yep.
gotta
Yep.
make sure I get all my sports channels that I watch religiously. I'm gonna be honest with you. They're all like marked like whatever, offline or invisible, and the guide I think I have ESPN just to have like the main one. But like
Mhm.
all the other ones are like, I don't need ESPN the Ocho. Like I'm good, like but speaking of ESPN, you would know this better, Kyle. So like isn't ESPN Plus like the complaint about it for a long time that it didn't really have like live ESPN? Like it was kind of like the CNN Plus of it all, where it's like if you want CNN to watch live CNN, you're gonna need cable still. We don't have it on CNN Plus, and same with like ESPN Plus. I think it was like highlights and whatever, 30 for
Yeah.
30 and clips and stuff, but you weren't
Yeah.
getting live ESPN on it. So it's kind of like
Yeah, and I
it was kind of a
think
bogus app to begin with.
yeah, and I think uh you'll get like live programming that ESPN will have on, but if they're playing like Sports Center or something, like you're not getting that kind of content
So yeah, like
on there.
what are they showing then if
They're
it's not?
showing mainly like simulcasting
Oh,
games,
okay.
and I think they might do like clips of
Mm,
stuff here and there, but a lot of ESPN's programming, especially during the early part of the day, is just like talking heads. So I don't know
yeah.
how much of that content they're offering. I think mostly it was like, let's go to this live sporting event, and they would have events in
Mm,
random areas too.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so the three companies will each own one third of this new venture. They'll all have, their own brand and independent management team. The deal is contingent on a final agreement, but the principal agreement is there. It really is Hulu for sports. Like that's what Hulu was
mm,
initially pitched as or, created as. They all had, ABC, Fox, and I think NBC. I don't think Fox at the time, or no, CBS at the time was involved
mm,
really with Hulu. Now, shares have, gone away. They all got their own apps. Disney pretty much is almost going to be controlling all of it. But we'll see how this all works out. I'm sure at some point the three of them are going to be like, wait, why am I splitting this again?
yeah,
Why am
yeah,
I doing this all together and sharing when I have the more exciting sport than these guys who have like the B teams of sports or whatever. And
yeah.
yeah, like no NBC Universal or Paramount in this. So you're not getting Sunday Night Football. You're not getting the Olympics. You're not getting the CBS whatever Sunday games. So sorry, Kyle, you're still gonna need to get Peacock
Oh
on
boy,
top
of
of this.
course,
So
my arch nemesis,
yeah,
Peacock. At this
yeah,
point,
but
I'm just at some point these people will probably all merge together as
oh yeah,
well. So
it's
it's
all gonna be
just
one
it's
too.
all ridiculous.
They've been talking that Paramount is gonna be, up for bids,
Yeah.
and it's just like all these guys are just gonna be all swallowed up into one thing eventually,
Mm-hmm.
anyways. So.
Yep.
All right, I got a movie coming out that was announced this week. David Litch, the director of Bullet Train, is in discussions to direct a new Jurassic World film scheduled for release on July 2nd, 2025. The movie will be written by David Cope, the original screenwriter for Jurassic Park and The Lost World Jurassic Park. The project will introduce a new storyline to the long-standing Jurassic Park series spanning 3 decades, but it's uncertain if previous stars like Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, all of them will return. John, any thoughts on another Jurassic World movie?
I don't know. Is there enough meat on this to make a
Enough
12th
meat
movie?
on
What are
this
we up to now?
T-Rex
Like,
bone? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a cool premise, but I feel like we've done enough of them for a while. Like, I don't know. Let's
Yeah,
wait until there's like some huge tech advancement where we can like
Actually get dinosaurs in real life.
yeah, and like make
AI
a theme park.
dinosaurs.
There we go.
Chat
Yeah.
GPT mixed with a T-Rex. What would come out?
God.
But yeah, it's the same story every single time. Why are we doing this? Every time it's
Yeah.
like, don't mess with science. But don't worry, I made a park, and this time it's impossible for them to escape. They escape. Let's try it again.
Oh.
It's just like, and I know I joke, it's like the same thing every time. Somehow audiences still love it, even though the reviews certainly were dwindling by the end of the new Jurassic World trilogy. The franchise, of whatever, it's been 6 films at this point, has earned over 6 billion worldwide since the original, back in 1993. The most recent one, Jurassic World Dominion, surpassed $1 billion in 2022. So it's gonna make money. I just also am surprised that it's like was announced and it's coming out so soon. Like normally it's like these CGI movies here. It's like you need like 2, 3 years, of doing it. Maybe I don't know. They're ready to go, I guess, by next summer, dropping this film. But Kyle, are you going to be watching it in 2025?
Uh, Probably not, because I think I bowed out of the Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard offerings
Yeah.
there. This thing is like heroin. It's never going to be as good as the first hit. I mean, I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah,
they
I mean, experience in that?
no, no. I don't know what they expect to get at this point, unless it's
Yeah.
just for future generations to kind of keep it in the works so that they can keep their theme parks or
It's just
whatever.
wild. Yeah, like future generations. Like the last one came out 2 years ago, and it's like there was a good, I don't know, what was it? Must have been 15 years between the original trilogy and the new trilogy. It's like
Yeah.
got to give time for people to miss it before you come back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't,
I mean, I don't think it's a good idea, but I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know. I don't know why these decisions are made because it does. It feels too early. No one's
yeah,
asking for it. I
yeah,
mean, just let it rest for a little bit.
yeah. Let it rest. Let it go extinct, and then you can bring it back.
Yes.
But all right. So let's get to
The
the
next Jurassic World will be a documentary. They'll actually have created the DNA, bring the dinosaurs back, and boom.
well, yeah, because like, what's the next thing? Because okay, you got Jurassic Park, you got Jurassic World. You got it. Like, what's
Universe.
Jurassic
Jurassic
We
Universe?
found
Universe.
dinosaurs on Mars.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Um, all right. From I guess one, beloved animal creature to another. Let's talk about Elmo finally. Uh, all right. Yeah, is Elmo? I don't even know what Elmo is. A dinosaur? Like, what is he? Like a organism, amoeba? I don't
A
know.
Muppet.
Yeah, I guess.
I
I mean,
don't
yeah,
know.
really. Um, Elmo's having a rough few weeks. I'll say it that he just turned 3.5 years old this past week, but man, Elmo was he was just trying to think of other people, and he posted on X, "Hey, Elmo's just checking in. How's everybody doing?" And then everyone proceeded to just trauma dump on this poor guy. Elmo became the #1 trend on Twitter. Tweet earned nearly 150 million impressions. People were talking about corporate layoffs to the, bleak election cycle. Elmo heard it all, and T-Pain even tweeted at him, "I'm just looking for somebody to talk to and show me some love, if you know what I mean." Wow. Kyle, were you trauma dumping on Elmo?
I was not trauma dumping on Elmo, but I'm not surprised this happened on that hellscape of an app, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Elmo putting that
A
out
three and a
into
half
the
year old should not be on X. Like,
yeah,
Yeah, hang on. Terms
yeah,
of service violation.
yeah. So, yeah. So I was not one of the trauma dumpers, but I feel bad for Elmo because I'm sure he heard some wild stuff
yeah.
or
I'm
saw some wild stuff.
I know he doesn't really have eyelids, but I'm sure his eyes widened with everything
Yeah.
that he
Yep.
heard and saw. People were posting. Yeah, what is T-Pain even talking about? I'm looking for somebody to talk to and show me some love, if you know what I mean. Dude, it's Elmo. He's 3.5 years old. He doesn't know what you
He
mean.
doesn't know what you mean, dude.
He
Well,
believes in
Elmo's been
cooties and
around.
stuff. Like
You
he's
know
not
he's
doing.
3.5. He's been around a while. He's a seasoned 3.5-year-old, okay?
He knows Oscar the Grouch. I'm sure
Yeah.
he knows some stories. But. Yeah, so after all that, Sesame Street, the Twitter account eventually had to put out a message directing users towards mental health resources, and then Elmo cheerfully responded, "Wow, Elmo is so glad he asked. Elmo learned that it's important to ask a friend how they are doing. Elmo will check in again soon, friends. Elmo loves you. Hashtag emotional well-being. So look at Elmo
Uh,
trying to just promote
yep,
positivity.
yep.
Who can hate Elmo? Nobody can hate
No one.
Elmo with this a message like
Not
that.
possible.
Only
Well,
someone who's crazy.
yeah, only one man can hate Elmo, and that man is Larry David. So David was waiting for his upcoming Today Show segment to promote the final season of Curb when he abruptly surprised everyone by walking onto an unrelated live segment featuring Elmo, grabbing the puppet's face and then mock pummeling it. He's strangling him, he's punching him. The it just Elmo was hurt. He said, "Mr. Larry, Elmo liked you before." Elmo's father, Louis, said he was going to sue Larry for assault. And then Savannah Guthrie, one of the hosts there, added, "Larry, you have gone too far this time. This is too much. We allowed Larry a lot of leeway before, but I think this is the final straw. I think this is it. We gotta cancel this guy. It's over."
Yeah, he went after a 3.5-year-old, dude. That's no
On
good.
On live
live
TV.
television in front of his dad. Oh. Why wasn't his dad intervening?
I
Louis should
know.
have been all over Larry David and protecting his son there.
But
Like
Larry David is wild, dude, to do this. Who would
it's
even think of doing that? It's
just
just
like just
crazy.
watching like all the hosts are
Yeah.
like, what is going on? Al
What is
Roker
he
just
doing?
standing there. It's like, oh man, like what is happening? But
Oh
I don't know.
man.
It sounds like an AI or even like a Curb episode. Like
Yeah,
I'm
it really
wondering
does.
when I first saw this, I thought, do you remember there's the episode of Nathan for You, that months before it aired, Nathan Fielder went on Kimmel to promote something
Mm,
and tells a wild story. And then I'm watching Nathan for You, and the episode starts, and he's talking about talk show anecdotes and how he made up the story, and he has to now make it real so he doesn't, feel like he's a liar. And I almost
uh-huh.
feel like that's like this is happening. Like I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if like in episode 9 or 10 of this season of Curb, somehow like Larry's promoting something, and like something with Elmo, and like that becomes like a storyline
Yeah.
or something in the
Yep.
show. Um,
Totally.
but yeah, so like Hoda and Savannah asked Larry to apologize, which he did in the moment, but then later that day on Seth Meyers, Larry David changed his tune. He said, quote, "Elmo was talking. I was waiting to be interviewed, and Elmo was going on about mental health, and I had to listen to every word. And I was going, oh my God, I don't think I can take another second of this." So I got out of my chair and I approached him and I throttled him. I couldn't take it, and you know what? I would do it again. Lock him up. Lock him up.
Oh my gosh. That's wild.
John, I know it sounds like you're not a Larry David fan. You didn't watch the Curb premiere, which we're going to talk about in a bit here. Are you just as angry as I am about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's another case of Larry just doing what he wants and trying not to face any repercussions. But the man's gonna learn one day that your actions have consequences, and you gotta
Yeah. Yeah.
adhere to the norms of society, even if that's not what you feel like doing.
He's a he's a billionaire picking on a poor
Yeah.
3-year-old Muppet that lives on the street. Like, on
It's
Sesame
like
Street. How
who's
dare he?
next? Is it Bluey? Is
Yeah.
it
Peppa
is it
Pig, I mean,
yeah, I know.
I don't know.
This
It's
man watch out for this man.
this man needs to be stopped, and thankfully he's going to be stopped because his show is coming to an end. Let's talk about it. Let's go back.
In time.
We're
I'm
back,
back,
baby.
baby! Gotta get back in time.
Yes, it's the Curb Your Enthusiasm season 12 premiere, Atlanta, and it dropped on February 5th on Max on HBO. Um, After 24 years, the final season begins with Larry heading down to Atlanta to appear at a party, only for him to be arrested for violating a polling place law. All right, so Kyle and I saw the premiere. Sounds like John dropped out. We'll get his thoughts on why he dropped out in a little bit. But Kyle, what did you think of the return of Curb?
I thought it was okay. I was kind of underwhelmed by
Yeah.
it. I didn't think it was a great episode. I thought there were moments in it, but overall, kind of disappointed by the return. Um, Anytime Leon is
Yeah.
on the camera, it is perfect.
Give
It's
us a Leon
perfection.
spinoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so good. I gotta be honest, we kind of popped right into the show, and I couldn't remember what happened.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that like young Larry, that show got picked up, or like even that girl was still around. Like I totally spaced on that. So
Yeah, I was actually surprised they kind of like kept up with some of the,
yeah,
events of season 11 and in the
yeah,
young Larry stuff a lot. I feel like a lot of time the arcs of a season are like one and done.
mm-hmm,
Like maybe they'll appear again in name or
yeah,
like they'll have like the producer's poster in his office, but like it's like, they don't talk about how he was in a musical all this time or did like this or that. Like so I was
mm-hmm,
surprised for both of them to come back. Maria
yes,
Sophia, now she's a huge star from
mm-hmm,
young Larry. She's on Kimmel. She's doing all the, the stuff. And then Tracy Ullman's character Irma is back as well. And it's one of those things where I feel like it's just because I think Larry likes these actors doing these
yeah,
roles, especially Tracy Ullman, because it's like that was one of my nitpicks. I don't buy it that
yeah. Neither do I.
he hates her, but he made a
Yeah,
promise to like some sponsor to stay with her for 6 months. Like he wouldn't care.
no,
Like it's just because he likes the character. He likes Tracy Ullman. He likes working with her and the bits. But like, because like the guy has dated some of the most attractive people on the show, like
yeah,
real life like stars. Wasn't he like actual like A-list actors in the show he was dating?
mm-hmm,
It's like
yeah,
couldn't be with her. But yeah, so I was kind of surprised that we kept some of that up. I remember like I get the jokes with Maria Sophia, but like after a while it was too much in season 11, so I was kind of
mm-hmm.
hoping to like kind of
I
cut bait
know.
with
I
that
agree.
and
I
move on.
agree.
So
I agree with everything you're saying because
yeah.
I didn't like Tracy Ullman's character. I just
Yeah.
wanted that to be done with for sure.
Yeah. So it's like to have both of them come back and yeah, and this is the final season, so every episode is precious and to have them and then yeah,
Yeah.
and I think I was a little underwhelmed with this and I feel like that's kind of the thing with later Curb. I feel like those first whatever 8 seasons, I think like pretty much, through the Seinfeld season, through the New York City arc with Michael J. Fox and everything, like that was like the peak Curb. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's when he went on the long hiatus before he came
Yep.
back for 9, 10, 11, 12. And those just maybe it's the HD of it all. It hasn't like
Mm-hmm.
fully like worked. I feel like there's episodes that are good or moments that are good, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's just at the end of the day, Curb, like any Curb is good Curb, where it's like it's like pizza, like yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's still
yeah.
good,
Yeah.
but like it's not like and
There's still great moments in the
yeah,
show, but it's not as consistent as it once was. Larry has this problem with service people, man. It
yeah,
seems like
it's
a
getting more and
bird.
more evident. I feel like
Yeah.
as the series has been going on.
Yeah, it's just like, can you give it up, man, with the tipping and the service? It's like there's got to be something else in that mind of yours, you know?
Because I would feel like when I was early watching Curb, I would feel like Larry was often right about things. But
Mm-hmm.
as the seasons like has progressed and maybe he's become even more rich, he's just I
Mm-hmm.
feel like way out of touch. Like for
Yeah.
instance, in this episode, when his glasses fall in the toilet and he has to ask the maid whose responsibility is it to get them out,
Mm-hmm.
it's you. Like
Yeah.
I mean it's this is insane. Like there's no
Yeah.
reason it would be her. It's you, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's like it was like such a wild like
Mm-hmm.
even debate to even have. So it was just like,
But that even that I felt like that
yeah,
storyline was a weak part of this,
yeah.
and the payoff at the end, like that spoiler alert where she
Well, yeah,
like
we'll spoil it. Yeah,
throws everything off. It didn't have the same like
mm,
punch
yeah,
that it did. Even
yeah,
though it was funny that she thought she got tipped from the toilet. It's
yeah,
funny, but the
yeah,
payoff at the end wasn't really great.
yeah. But
Um,
but yeah, and I think, and like speaking of like like these glasses and stuff, this will be another nitpick. I feel like so he stretched out, or you got the glasses stretched out by Leon's aunt there. He
mhm.
has to wear this backup pair, so he gets a backup pair from the aunt. But wouldn't those also be stretched out because those are her glasses?
Yeah.
to her head. So like
Yeah.
that's like
It's just a
already like the
silly,
logic in it. And it's I know it's a TV show, but like it's just he just wanted Larry in funny glasses,
Yeah,
like
of course.
but
But let me get your opinion on
yeah.
this. Did you feel like lot of the episode was like Larry like over yelling in a
Yes.
situation that didn't require it? I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you yelling right
Yeah,
now? And
I
maybe
think
that's the shtick now, but I don't know.
what is
But in other
what do they
episodes,
call it?
you
Like the
could see that.
flanderization of it, where it's just like, he was, he would raise his voice occasionally, or
Yeah.
like this and that, and it would be funny. And then it's like, and as seasons progress, you lean more into the things that are like those are the laugh lines,
Yeah.
and there was points where it's like, yeah, it's like, all right, like calm down.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, there was like a lot of little things in this episode, and sometimes it feels like it's almost like when you're watching, it's like a game of seeing what pieces will come together. Like if you're going to
Hmm.
try to figure out like how all those things will come together and like in a Seinfeld bow. But then there's other times where it's like it just feels like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. It's like
Hmm.
yeah, it's like Siri not hearing him, the stretched out glasses, the fat emotional support dog, the butt dial, the hotel maid. It's like there's like
Yeah.
how is this going to connect? And
Yeah.
sometimes they connect, and sometimes it's weak, but like
Hmm.
it's just like, oh, we're just trying things. Like I just have like this one idea that really is only 30 seconds, but let me throw it in an episode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um but yeah, so we get to the end of the episode and he's being cordial, in the hot voting line, gives Leon's aunt a water bottle, but she's sweating. It's hot out there, but that's actually against the law
Hmm.
in Georgia there. So Larry's arrested, and we get a mugshot very similar to maybe something we've seen earlier this year with another 7-year-old man with a lot of money and
Yeah.
a lot of power, supposedly. But so this is interesting because I want to get your thoughts on maybe what the season arc could be if there is one for this final season. We're seeing an arrest here for kind of a
Hmm.
crazy law, like something that seems like, really? You're gonna
Hmm.
arrest me for this? Are
Hmm.
we gonna get a Seinfeld repeat? Are we gonna get this kind of full circle moment? Everyone hates the Seinfeld finale, the Good Samaritan law, them, the trial and going to jail and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And he's like, hey, I wrote that. Like, F you, that's a great ending. I'm gonna do it again and get the guest stars to come back and talk about how he is a cordial guy and or maybe he
Could
isn't
be.
and
Could be. I didn't even think of that as a connection,
yeah,
but it could be.
yeah, like the full
I
circle
honestly,
moment. I don't know.
yeah, I honestly thought the ending was kind of weird because it was so different from the rest of the episode,
Yeah.
it felt like. So it was kind of an odd one. But yeah, I mean that could be a connection. That could be the through line.
Yeah, because I'm wondering how they're gonna end it. Because like all I've been hearing is like every time he does a season, oh this could be it, this could be it. But like supposedly like for people who have seen the season or what he says, it's like yeah, it's pretty definitive. Like you'll know this is it. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, how can you do that? Because in season 5, way back when, whatever, how many years ago that was, he died. Like what more final can you do? And it's
Yeah.
just like unless yeah he goes to prison and like at least he's in prison like something, but like still like
Hmm.
I don't know. Who knows? But that was my first guess. There's always been times I feel like even more in the more recent seasons, I'll pick up stuff where it's like you're kind of repeating something that you did in Seinfeld, like
Hmm.
that
Yeah. Yeah,
bit.
I've
I
had
mean,
that
it's
before.
his bit, so he can repeat it. But it's like, oh, I saw that, whatever, years ago on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So it
Yep.
might be interesting to even just do this full circle moment and connect these two things. But I don't know. John, I know you didn't watch this episode, and I think you
Mhm.
dropped out, sometime maybe it was season 11 when we talked about it. Why no Larry?
Well, I think you guys kind of hit on that before, where it seems to always devolve into Larry yelling about some inconsequential thing, and I feel like the show has like 2 or 3 blueprints from what I've seen, where it's Larry wants to do something against social norms, does it, and then complains that people are upset with him, or someone else does something inconsequential that he doesn't like, and he escalates it to the point where he does something against social norms and everyone hates him for it. So it felt very much like he was creating his own problems and then complaining about it to the point where the people around him are sick of it and kind of just like give in and make him feel happy or whatever. Sometimes, so I don't know. It just didn't. It's never grabbed me as something that was all that humorous. It just more felt like an old man complaining.
Yeah. Old
Which,
man yells at
granted,
cloud.
Yeah, that's
I do
fair.
plenty of complaining,
Yeah.
and I'm getting old too. But I don't have a TV show, so
Yeah.
What's
I hear
funny?
you. Yeah.
What's funny about what John's saying is Jess feels the same way about Seinfeld. She's like, these problems are all of their own creation. It's just like it stresses her out, so she can't watch it.
Yeah. No, I definitely think like early Curb had more of like like I said, like Larry was often in the right on those situations or like everyone else was kind of the a-hole. But then I feel like as the season progresses and
Yeah.
just he got older and as you were saying, like with like service workers and maybe just having more money
Mm,
and just like it's like like these problems we don't have them because
yeah.
like I don't have $1 billion in a TV show.
Yeah.
Like I don't, but at the end of the day, there's still some funny moments, as you say, like Leon. Even
Leon
like I know
is
how every scene always like Larry goes to Susie's house. They always say, "Oh, hi, Larry. How's it going?" And then all of a sudden, like by the end of it, it's like, "Have you, Larry?" It's like it works every
Yeah.
single time on me.
I
Like,
know.
so
I know.
what's that say? But um
I feel like Jeff Garland didn't have much to do in this episode.
no, it was a quiet one for him.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right here. I mean, Larry went to Atlanta, and this guy knows Atlanta, our next show. Donald Glover, but this time he's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Well, he's Mr. Smith, and Maya Erskine is Mrs. Smith. Inspired by the 2005 film Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this follows John, played by Donald Glover, and Jane, played by Maya Erskine, a pretend married couple who are secretly highly skilled assassins. All right. So we all saw the premiere of this. I believe it's called First Date. They dropped all 8 episodes of this series on Amazon on February 2nd. John, what did you think of the premiere of Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
yeah, I think overall, I enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't remember seeing the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Yeah.
so I don't know if this is covering the same ground. I'm assuming it's kind of not. It seems like it's making it more of a serialized thing rather than a movie. So, but yeah, I thought it was presented well. I had a couple complaints about the small things like they were running around in New York City talking about being spies, like at dinner table, like in front of people. Like, really, you're gonna discuss like, oh, how many people did you kill? Like that kind of thing just seems a little out of touch. Where like, maybe try and disguise that you're discussing your secret mission that you're currently doing. But other than that, yeah, I thought it went well. I like the interactions the two of them are having as they kind of meet each other and explore their personalities. And I am interested in watching more. I just ended up being pretty busy this week, so I didn't see more than the first one. But I probably will see more.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up like even like the chemistry between the two because I was reading an article today. So initially, a little backstory on the show, Donald Glover was doing this with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So you got these two creative people, Donald with Atlanta, Phoebe with Fleabag, these show creators, writers, directors. And I'm like, oh, I heard this. I'm highly interested. Got these two going to be making a show together. Like, worlds collide. I'm in. But when you have two like captains of a ship, like, maybe there's some creative differences on how this should be run. Glover stayed on and Maya Erskine replaces Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Donald is the creator, writer, and director. Maya's just doing just acting in this, not doing, anything really behind the scenes for it. But it's interesting because in the article it was saying like they didn't do a chemistry test with like they just like hired her and it's just like you would think like yeah should we like test this out we have two leads
Yeah.
it's all based on I mean sure it is like they're doing a first date and but like I'm sure with every episode being called first date second date this thing like I think they're gonna probably maybe get some feelings for each other so you're gonna need that later on. So I just thought it was an interesting note. And to add to the movie side of things, I don't know for sure because I'm not an expert in the movie, but I believe in the movie, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are actually married and they are hired as assassins to like kill one another unbeknownst to them. So in this one, they are pretend married who are, I guess, working together on a project. So With all that being said, Kyle, what did you think of Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
I enjoyed it. I thought the matchmaking thing intro was an interesting way to start it.
Yeah, a little Black Mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think their chemistry is great, so
Yeah.
that it worked out perfectly like that is great. I think that's what makes the show because they are the two leads. I liked it so much I watched 4 episodes
Oh, wow.
actually.
Wow.
But
Halfway there.
what I think is interesting is that we get two big stars in Alexander Skarsgård and I forget the other actress's name, but that they're killed in the first like 2 minutes. You're like, what is happening here? But
Yeah, a little like Scream Drew Barrymore of it all, like
yeah,
surprise.
yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But it seems like they do get a lot of good guest stars on. I agree with John in that like talking openly in New York about spy things is stupid, but there's one episode that I really, really, really don't like because they essentially meet another spy couple working for the same company. It's really, I think it's really dumb and it's a not a great idea, but I like I like the spy parts. I like them trying to figure out each other.
Yeah.
I don't even think it should be affiliated with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, honestly, because
Yeah.
it's very different. But
I think it's just it's
um,
one of those things nowadays where everything has to be attached to something IP related or just by at least name
mhm,
to get people like interested. But like maybe I'm just like, I don't know, Don Glover, Maya Erskine, like doing a TV show. I'm like, all right, I'll check that out. Like, that
mhm,
was enough for me.
mhm,
But yeah, you mentioned some of the guest stars. Yeah, Paul Dano, John Turturro, Sharon Horgan, Sarah Paulson, Park Posey, M Michaela Cole. There's so many people that are in this that I'm, excited to see. And you mentioned Alexander Skarsgård of it all. Interesting thing. So like, you look him up on Wikipedia. He is original John. So
mhm,
we
Interesting.
see him shot dead in this opening, and then
mhm,
we see um them recruiting Don Glover and Maya Erskine's characters into being the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
mhm,
And initially, when I first watched this, I'm like, oh, maybe this is like a plan gone bad. Like, it's the
mhm,
two of them were Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They were doing their thing, and then, yeah, they got caught up with the wrong people or
mhm,
whatever. But then I'm actually thinking, I'll give a credit to my wife on this one also. She kind of pointed this out that maybe these two, like, were, fake lovebirds just like them, fell in love, and then we're trying to get out of the
mhm,
system. We're on the run.
mhm,
Possibly is that for maybe some foreshadowing of,
mhm,
the
Yep.
Donald and Maya's characters coming together, and
mhm,
then wanting to get out of this high agency that is sending them messages to do all these different tasks and stuff like that.
mhm,
But yeah, and then this first mission, kind of a slow start, seemingly easy first mission. The episode's called First Date, and it really has like kind of like it's like them easing their way into this world and their characters and learning about each other. So I kind of like that kind of setup that it's
mhm,
every episode, as I mentioned, is like first date, second date, vacation. Like they have like different like um relationship type terms as an episode title. So, she's sitting in a play. He's on the radio earpiece as she, texts and it's like the little flirty text. And it's kind of like the start of a relationship. So I kind of like how this is like set up. And I'm interested, yeah, in their chemistry and where this goes. Um, but yeah, this first mission, John, I want to get your thoughts on seemingly just bringing a cake to a party. It held up pretty good in that,
Yeah, I mean that box was being thrown around and
yeah.
tumbled and everything, but
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I was worried about like my wedding cake if it just like slightly
yeah,
moved a little bit. But I mean, that thing was being flipped around in a box and a
yeah, dude.
canister, and everything was fine. But yeah. So it was really interesting because like it really like they bring it to a house, and I thought, oh, like yeah, but I guess it was just a test. That's just they want to give him something easy, graduate something big later on, and we paused it, on that, got a snack or whatever, unpaused it, and then boom. Like it's like literally, oh, okay, I guess it wasn't. I guess uh
Legit.
it was a legit mission that they were
Mhm,
sent to blow up a party, I guess. And wow. But this kind of also goes to like what I've seen. I watched actually like right before we started. I was watching episode 2. I didn't finish it yet. But there's a lot of this where it's just like this happens and then immediately like start running and it's just like, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of witnesses in maybe New York
Yeah.
City and some of the stuff that they're doing, especially with something I only am halfway through episode 2, but there's another event where it's like, yeah, they would clock these two
Yeah.
doing
Pretty
something. It's
easily.
just like,
Yeah.
okay. But um anyways, it's still a fun show. I like the chemistry, I like the leads. I'm excited to keep watching more, so I definitely will. Sounds like Kyle's already watched some more. John, you think you're
Hmm.
gonna watch any more?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Yeah, so that's on Amazon. And here's a quick question about, Amazon for you guys. They announced in February they were gonna be adding ads and you can remove them for $2.99 a month. I don't know about you guys. I watched 2 shows on Amazon on Friday night. I had one 15-second ad before each of them, and that was it.
Yeah, that's what I had too.
I don't remember seeing an ad.
And
I
the 15
wonder.
second thing was mostly like probably some
Amazon
Amazon
Prime thing. Yeah.
Prime related thing, like some, watch this show or do that thing. And I'm like, if that's it, I'm fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I say that now and then cut to like
Yeah.
whatever. The next episode will be like
The-
6 minutes every
yeah.
5 minutes. But I'm not gonna pay $3 a month if I'm just gonna lose a 15-second ad. Like, I'm fine with
Mhm.
that. But I don't know, just an interesting thing. I don't know if they're just easing people into it
They're probably
or
just
what.
easing people into it. But
Yeah.
I've also heard that for these ads for Netflix and Prime, and they're just putting the ads wherever in the shows, and it's
Yeah.
just like, or
Oh man.
movies, it's like right in the middle of a line of dialogue. It's like, why are you doing this to
Yeah.
us?
It's like How I Met Your Mother. Man, it's gonna be legend. Wait for it. And then it's like quick check summer subject and
Yeah,
then dairy. What like and that's actually a
yeah.
perfect segue to our last segment of the night. We got 2 movies to talk about, just enough time. Play the jingle.
Quick check.
All right. So the last episode, we discussed all the Oscar nominations. We did a quick check on Poor Things, which had a bunch of Oscar nominations. Tonight, we're gonna do quick checks on 2 other Oscar movies that Kyle and I both saw. Let's start off with Maestro. All right, 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Actress. This love story chronicles the lifelong relationship of conductor-composer Leonard Bernstein and his wife, actress Felicia Bernstein. They're played by Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan, respectively. Kyle, what do you think of Maestro?
Um, there's a lot of good elements to it. There's a lot of good shots. The acting is really good. The production design is fantastic. Um, but the first half of this movie is kind of a slog. And I um understand it's Bradley Cooper's like big project, the thing that he's always wanted to do, but I'm almost like, why?
Yeah.
I don't understand why. Like, what was the importance of this dude? And I can't get that really from this movie. Like, I don't, like, I think it does a great job of telling his story, but I don't get why he felt the need to make this movie. It just doesn't
Yeah,
rise with me.
like why was this the follow-up
Yeah,
after Star
yeah,
is Born? Like this
yeah,
was your thing you've been working on for years that you had to
yeah.
get, Steven Spielberg was like, yeah, you're directing
Yeah,
Maestro. It's like,
I
why?
just
Like,
don't get it. I think it's a good movie, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know why we did this. It feels very Oscar baity. That's what it
okay.
does to me.
That's literally what I have in my notes. It's Oscar bait the movie. And yeah, it's a good movie. Like, don't get me wrong, but maybe it's just all the preseason press and it just felt like it was trying way too hard. Like the pieces are
Hmm.
there, the good performances, good direction, good music, but it never fully connected like at all for me because it just felt too much of like, hey, look at me, I'm acting. Look at me, I'm doing this one take camera pan. It was too much of like distracting elements that I couldn't ever connect to the film on an emotional level because I was just distracted by like, look at me, Oscar, look at me, Oscar. It was really hard to get out of that mindset. And like the first third of the movie when it's in black and white, that's definitely the hardest part to sit through.
Mm,
And maybe it's like pretending to be like an homage to like the old movies and the style of that time period. Okay, fine, but like it just it wasn't too clear for me. It just again felt like, oh, Oscar, black and white, old,
Hmm.
old timey. Like here's, and it, as the movie went along, and color, I feel like I got better and more into it. And I don't
Hmm.
want to be like, oh, it's black and white. I didn't enjoy it, color, but it literally, I think it was just like as the movie progressed and we got into more interesting parts of his life,
Yeah,
I was more into it.
things were moving along.
Yeah.
Things were happening.
And if anything, it moved along too quick because like it felt almost
Hmm.
like surface level on stuff. Like
Yes.
we're trying to cover his entire life into this movie. It's like maybe you should have just
Hmm.
focused on
Yes, he
a
should have.
moment because
Yeah.
when you're skipping around, you're skipping over major life events and how they really affected this relationship because it's less of like a biopic on Leonard Bernstein. It's more of like a story on their relationship. And it almost like
Hmm.
the initial posters almost like focused on Carey Mulligan. And I believe the final shot focuses on Carey Mulligan. It's like, is she the maestro? Like, is she the
Hmm.
one of this relationship? And it's like, I don't know, like, if that's the case, like we're focusing on too many different things in different areas when we should have maybe
Yeah.
focused more on her from the
Hmm.
get-go. Like it was bouncing all over the place, I think. But
I completely agree. I mean, the fact that you say surface level and we've got a shot of old Leonard Bernstein like 8 minutes before the final credits, and he's like doing lines of coke at 73, dancing and raving. I'm like, what's happening right now?
yeah, like I feel like you could have done something instead of going from like day one to
Yeah.
the last day. Like, yeah, like focused in on a section or like a major life event or like
Yeah, maybe they did that
two or three
because
moments, but like
yeah.
it was just like, oh, I got to show him like young and then old and the makeup and like the
Yeah.
just it's like all the different aspect ratios and the black and white and the old time Hollywood. Like we have to hit all
Yeah.
these things, and it's just like you're hitting on too much. Just like focus, narrow
Yeah.
it down, and just make
Hmm.
it work. But again, it's good. It's just not like I don't know. It's not the film of the year. So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
yeah.
I think it's solid in many departments, but the story just needs something
Mhm.
else. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got one other Oscar movie we're going to be talking about real quick, and it's The Holdovers. It's up for 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Supporting Actress. This film, directed by Alexander Payne, showcases a cranky old history teacher at a remote prep school who is forced to remain on campus over the holidays with a troubled student who has no place to go. All right, what did you think of The Holdovers, Kyle?
I like this one. I think in this movie, I think everyone that watches it really enjoys it or can take something from it. I think it's a very relatable movie. Um, Paul Giamatti is great. The acting overall is fantastic, and I think that's where the movie shines in these great performances. Um, but there's something about you learn, you get these little tidbits of information about Paul Giamatti's character along the way that kind of shape him more. Because when you're just a student in his class, you're like, this angry old dude, like, what's his problem? And then you learn more along the way, and it kind of shapes that individual. And I think we can all relate to that in some way, a little bit. So, um, do I think it's the best movie Oscars wise? No, but I think it's probably the most
Yeah.
likable
Yeah.
movie.
And that for a while it was picking up some buzz and some steam that it could be a possible winner because of like that well liked that there's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be one person who I feel like doesn't like this movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
solid. It's and it's like it's comforting. You know the beats before you even settle in, to watch it. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
of course these, two like the cranky old teacher and the student who are at odds with each other. Spoiler, they'll befriend each other by the end. Like you know it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna happen. But it doesn't matter. It's still fun. It's still comforting to watch. And as you said, it comes a lot down to the acting. I mean, Paul Giamatti, who right now is neck and neck, I feel like with Murphy for Oppenheimer for Best Actor, Divine Joy Randolph, who's a near lock for supporting actress, and Dominic Sessa. It's really those three. And at points,
Mm-hmm.
it's Paul and Dominic. Like it's the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot on the actors, but the three of them really hold this thing together so well. And it's crazy. Dominic says his first film role. And
Wow.
he's going toe to toe with Paul Giamatti. And
Mm-hmm.
supposedly I think he was like he's in college now, but he was a student at the school that because this is a real prep school that they filmed at. And like whatever the acting teacher, drama teacher there said, hey, they're looking for people, we're gonna do a casting call kind of thing. He auditioned and got the role. And I just think it's like wild. Can you imagine like doing not only like a major Hollywood movie, but then also like doing it like at your school? Like you're like this
Yeah.
place probably inside and out. And here you are like, I don't know, on a period piece in your school. Because that's the other cool thing I think about the film. It's like it feels like, I mean, it's set in the 1970s and it feels like it is, it looks like it is, and I feel like they really blend it so well because it's not in your face where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, we get it. You're in the past kind of thing. It feels almost like it's made from that time. Like it was like
Yeah.
almost in a
Yeah.
time capsule. The editing style, the whip zooms, the production design, the retro studio intros that they would
Mm-hmm.
have, they made graphics for. And I think that really like adds to the film. Just makes it feel like it has that feel like it's a real film instead of like a digital streaming film.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think overall it's a solid film. John, if I'm gonna recommend, I mean, either of these two, definitely check out The
The
Holdovers. And I think it would,
holdovers, yeah.
again, I think as Kyle said, I think it's like of the best picture ones, it's probably gonna be the most liked, just solid, one
Mm-hmm.
fun one to return to. I might not return to Oppenheimer and like Killers of the Flower Moon so frequently, just because of the tone and the subject matter and the length, but it's like I'll put on the Holdovers again, next
Mm-hmm.
Christmas or something. It'll
Yeah.
be solid. But
Yeah.
all right. So that's all we got for this week. We talked a little bit about some Oscar movies, and that's going to be our next podcast. We are going to be predicting the 96 Academy Awards with our friends, the Good, the Bad, and the Watchable podcast. Right now, we're planning on that podcast being on Monday, February 26th. It'll be streaming live on Twitch and on YouTube like this one is tonight. But watch social media for sure. Obviously plans change, but we'll post it on Twitter and on Instagram and on in the show notes probably for this episode as well. But right now, Monday, February 26th for our annual Oscar prediction podcast with the Good, Bad, and Watchable. And then, man, March is going to be busy. I mean, not only are we going to have the Oscars recap, we're going to do Dune Part 2. We got The Three Body Problem on Netflix. A lot of sci-fi stuff happening in March. So make sure you are ready to go. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com, Twitch, twitch.tv/doredundancy, live on Twitch and on YouTube. And yeah, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at Dual Redundancy. But before all that, before those episodes come out, John, you have an event going on. Tell us about that. What's going on?
I do. On February 22nd, I believe, that Thursday, we are doing a charity stream for the American Heart Association. We've done this the last 2 years in a row, and we are like the number 3 individual donator, group for their thing. So we do all right. But we'd love to have some people to come say hi, spread the word, or if you're feeling charitable, you can even donate. You can find more info at bit.ly/2024heart, all capitals, and you can get some more info there. I'm sure that
Cool.
I can convince Dave to put that in the show notes too.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. Yeah, send me the link and I'll definitely put it in the show
Yeah,
notes for this episode as well. So
cool.
yeah, very cool, John. Yeah, that's awesome. And somehow you find time to do that. You find time to direct this show and do all the graphics and get it up on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. And man, I don't know how you do it. Kyle? Yeah.
I know.
Just
I'm
kidding.
just like a lump on a log,
No,
man.
no,
Just
no.
show off.
Keep coaching that basketball, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, if anything, Kyle's gonna be the one making the most money over there,
Yeah.
training the next Jordan and Scottie Pippen and the whole
I
gang.
doubt that's happening. Yeah.
But all right, well, that's all we got for this week. Again, thank you guys both for joining me tonight and doing this pod. And yeah, next one, Monday, February 26th is the plan. But until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.